Temple, go right ahead.
Oh, well, thank you, first of all, for having us. This is awesome. We are, as you can probably tell, out at the Hunter Park, which is a Kiwanis project out off of Lincoln Avenue and Main Street. It was a centennial project, and so we're going to talk about that a little bit later. But I guess the first thing I want to let everybody know is, what is Kiwanis? And I know there's a lot of civic organizations in town. We hear about Rotary and Lions Club and Kiwanis. And the Lancaster Kiwanis is the only Kiwanis club currently in the area. We have about 100 members, and we are a civic organization, much like Rotary and Lions and other clubs. Our main focus and our main mission is to improve and better the lives of the youth throughout Fairfield County. So not even just Lancaster, but all throughout Fairfield County. And we've been doing that a number of ways for a number of years. Many years ago, it started with summer camps. More recently, in the last couple decades, it's been through Kiwanis Little League Baseball, which is a baseball league here in town that does not cost anything for a child to participate. We cover the use of their equipments and their umpires and their uniforms. Typically, we have about 4 different teams that rotate and play. And that's been wildly successful up until this year, of course, with the pandemic. We did have to suspend that this year, but we tried to turn something negative into something positive, and we actually took that money and donated it to the COVID Relief Fund through Fairfield County Foundation. So we feel like we're still making a difference in the lives of children this summer, just not in the same way. A lot of people say, okay, what does it mean? Like, what do you have to do to be a Kiwanian? I know that was my question. Like, how much of a commitment is this? And I was lied to. I was told it wasn't much of a commitment, but it was. I'm teasing. But for the most part, all we require is that you attend our meetings on Wednesdays. For the last couple of years, those have taken place at the Lancaster Country Club. Each meeting has a small business meeting, 10 or 15 minutes, as well as a lunch that you can choose to partake in. It's at your choosing. And then we have a featured speaker from somebody in the community. We, like I said, currently have about 100 members. At a typical meeting, there can be anywhere from 35 to 55 people. We have a lot of fun. We don't take ourselves terribly seriously, probably much to the chagrin of maybe Kiwanis International, but we have an awful lot of fun. We sing at every meeting. We joke at every meeting. We are not afraid to poke fun at ourselves and our fellow members. So there's a real family feel to what we're doing. So that's just a little bit about who Kiwanis is and what it means to be a Kiwanian. Obviously, there's a lot of history behind Kiwanis, and I'm going to throw it to Joan and Craig and let them tell you a little bit about how Kiwanis came to be.
Hi.
Hi.
And thank you, Rachel, for inviting us.
Thank you, Temple. And you can see Joan and I are both here at the Hunter Playground, Hunter Park as well. And the roots of our organization go back to 1915, when a group of businessmen in Detroit, Michigan decided to put together an organization that would help increase their business success. And given that period of time, they gave it the unwieldy name of the Supreme Lodge of the Benevolent Order of Brothers, or Bob. And so after about a year's time, I think they decided that there wasn't a good name. When someone asked, what do you belong to? And they said Bob, and that didn't work. So they came up with a Native American Indian phrase, Nunk Kiwanis, which meant we trade. And they shortened that then to Kiwanis. And so that was the motto initially, was we trade. Then later, about 1919, they changed the motto to we build. And about the same time, around 1920, they decided that they should change the focus of the organization to one that served children, serving the children of the world. Our particular club, in 1918, Columbus formed their first Kiwanis Club. And a Dr. Spurlock from Lancaster attended one of the early meetings and decided that Lancaster should have their own Kiwanis Club. So in May of 1919, the first 20 members, charter members, formed the Lancaster Kiwanis Club. That's basically the roots of our formation.
So currently, we have 93 members, but we're growing. We do service projects every month, And I'll give you some examples. We adopt Rising Park, we clean it, you know, just do a couple hour cleanup about 4 times a year. We do large book giveaways. And I looked, and I think last year I know that we gave over 1,000 books away to children and youth in Fairfield County. We did kindergarten readiness bags. We do a regular donation of items to Children's Protective Services with little string backpacks for them. We have a scholarship program for college-bound students. And again, our signature service project is the baseball, youth and baseball, and it has been in place for 55 years. This would have been our 56th year. So it's well established. It's free for the children, and the parents pay nothing. We cover all the expenses for a nice little baseball league, plus a swimming party and trophies, and you know, all the things that go along with a baseball league.
It's basically just an instructional league.
Yeah,
it's not really
highly
about
competitive,
winning the World Series. It's about learning how to play.
Actually, they get kind of competitive.
Well, they do, but
so we do things every month. We also support other organizations financially every month. I mean, we sometimes, you know, just give money to people. Like last year we donated to the Boy Scouts to help with the Eagle Scout project, specifically one Eagle Scout project. So there are things every month we donate to, and also do get involved with our own service projects. What else can we tell them, Temple?
Mute us, I guess.
I'm gonna mute.
Okay, I'm gonna unmute myself. Story of my life. So yeah, so that's a little bit about what we do locally. One thing that I think is really unique about Lancaster Kiwanis is that the relationships that our members have within the community, you know, tend to, for lack of a better word, they tend to come to fruition, and they tend to really benefit by joining Kiwanis. So for example, for those of you who don't know, I work for the Fairfield County Board of Developmental Disabilities. And we've got a great relationship with Kiwanis that has strengthened over the years, primarily because we have several members from Fairfield ED, you know, that are active participants in Kiwanis. And so in I guess response to that, as Joan said, when we did we sponsored an Eagle Scout project this year, and it happened to benefit the Fairfield County Special Olympics. When we decided on a centennial project, which is what we're going to talk about here very shortly, which is why we're all out at the playground today, you know, we were able to build an all abilities playground and really understand at the root of that why that was important, that we didn't build just a new playground, but that it was inclusive and accessible for children of all ages and abilities, as well as adults of all ages and abilities. You know, some of the other projects that we've done have benefited JFS, because we have some members that are involved with JFS. We have a new member that's with Big Brothers Big Sisters, and so we've been able to learn more about those organizations. So as more and more people join out in the community, join Kiwanis, we learn in turn more about their organizations and where they're coming from, and it's a mutually beneficial relationship. And I think that's really important, especially in a small town where, you know, in Lancaster, it's all about, you know, you scratch our back, we'll scratch your back. And we really do all pull together to make the community a better place. So I think that's probably, for me, been the most beneficial thing about belonging to Kiwanis. And, you know, I'm sure many years ago when it was a boys club that, you know, that was kind of what they were doing anyway, a lot of fellowship and business, you know, interactions. It's not a boys club, however. I feel like I need to say that because there was a time when it was primarily a gentleman's civic organization. But for the last, I think in the last 4 or 5 years, Craig, you've been the only male president, I believe. I think we had 2 female presidents before you, and then you, and then myself. I've been the president for the past year. And then our incoming president is a female, Regina King, with Fairfield Medical Center. And then right behind her is another female. So you can run, but you cannot hide because the girls are taking over. I love that Joan just said 2 of our female friends that are tennis players are joining. So, you know, the boys in the club, the gentlemen in the club, they tease us a little bit about that. And yet, as our club has grown, it has grown exponentially with women, which I think is very important. So I guess the next thing we need to really talk about is, why are we coming to you from Hunter Park? What is Hunter Park? And I'm going to actually let Joan and Craig speak to that But while they do, in the background, I'm going to kind of walk around in case anyone wants to look on my screen as well at what we're talking about when we talk about Hunter Park, just in case you haven't had the pleasure of being here yet.
Craig, you're muted.
Oh, I thought I hit it. Okay, start over.
So as I said earlier, our roots for our local club go back to 1919. So 2019 was our 100th anniversary. And I was the president-elect in 2018, so I knew I was going to be president during the 100th celebration. And we wanted to do something special for the community. So we asked the members to come up with ideas of what should we do, not just a party for ourselves, but what kind of project could we do that would benefit the community. And they came up with about 12 or 13 ideas, and we had a committee.
All really good
yeah.
ideas. Yes.
And they whittled it down to 2 or 3, but one of them really stood out. And the one that stood out was this all abilities playground idea. And the thing that's great about it is that people from all generations, all abilities can come to one location and interact together. And that, we thought that was really important. And it wasn't just for children, it was for their children's parents and for their grandparents. They could all come here and all have a good time
together.
So we also had a couple other ideas. One was planting trees at Rising Park, which we've done near the bench area at the west wall of the lake. And then the other one was a Born Learning Trail, which is about to be installed here at Hunter Park. And it's for young children to have a learning experience. So
it's a United Way initiative nationwide. And so we've purchased that. It'll go along the trail here.
So that's how the idea came about.
Hey, can I interrupt real quickly, Craig?
Yeah.
Because I just spotted a Kiwanian out here at Hunter Park.
Oh, you did?
Mr. Parks himself.
All right. I'm gonna.
Okay.
Yes,
We're
our park superintendent, Mr. Tharp, is here this morning.
Hello. How we doing?
Good.
Yeah, just trying to clean up stuff, installing the new shade structure and getting ready to put in the Born Learning Trail and the bike racks and picnic tables. So yeah, we're on track to get this thing completed here in the next week or so.
Awesome.
Can't wait.
Good.
Excited.
Yeah. Awesome.
Really is.
Mike's been out here with the leaf blower too, I have to say. Okay, sorry, Craig, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I didn't want him to skedaddle away without us introducing him.
No, that was perfect. That worked well. I think we pretty much explained how the idea came about, and we're excited to be here and glad that this park actually was dedicated last fall, and so there's been a lot of playing take place on it up until the pandemic, of course. But I think now that children are back on here playing again, and soon we're going to have a new picnic area here, and in addition, some restrooms.
Oh, right. So let me go back and talk about the fundraising. So we've never done a project this big, never in our 100 years. We thought maybe a $50,000 project was way, way big for us. Like we just thought that would be a huge goal for us.
Actually, that's what the board approved.
And the board said, yeah, okay, go for it. Go for $50,000 and we'll donate that to the Parks Department. They can start this all abilities multi-generational playground. But we have somebody in our club named Carrie Woody, who was also on the park board, and she was on the funding committee. And the first meeting she said, we're not going to raise $50,000. We're going to raise the $300,000 we need for the whole project. So it did seem to make sense after we got talked into it. Because why would we fundraise a little bit and somebody else do some? So our goal was then 300, which we have now exceeded. It took 300 to get the surface and the playground equipment in, but our project has expanded as we got the money. We now, as you can see, are doing the shade and the picnic tables, and we are still fundraising to get to finish paying for restrooms and then to pave the parking lot. And that really was not planned. to pave the parking lot, but we're hoping to be able to pay for that. So in the fall of 2018, we established a fund at the Fairfield County Foundation, and we started promoting that. And we have received donations from well over 100 different businesses, organizations, and grants, and individuals, well over 100. So it really didn't come all from Kiwanis members. It came from all over the community and the county, and we've gotten a lot of grant support for this too. So we're in really good shape, but we still need a little more to cover the parking lot, actually.
So as far as I know, this is the only all abilities multi-generational playground in Fairfield County.
Right.
So that's public, open to the
That's
public.
open to the public,
Yeah.
right.
So,
One of the features that really makes it accessible is the soft, solid rubber surface. And maybe Temple can show you the surface. It's not mulch, it's not loose, it's actually a solid rubber that was poured into here. So what happens is it's easier to roll across, walk across, and it's spongy.
about 4 inches thick, I think.
So
Yeah.
it's soft for falls, and it's but you can still move across it without tripping.
It's solid, yeah.
Yeah. What else
So
do you
another thing, we talk about all abilities, and I know a lot of people on the call work with people with developmental disabilities as well as some physical disabilities. But I wanted to show you a little bit of the equipment, because it's really easy to say that something is accessible, but you really need to know what that means. And so most of the equipment out here was designed specifically for to accommodate people that might have some different physical needs. One of my favorites is this swing. I don't know if you can see this. So this swing here is made so that you could put a child in this portion here, but if you look behind here, there's an actual seat. So what that means is that when a child is on that swing, that a parent or an adult can be on that swing with them. Can you see that okay? Did it work? Okay. So that's one of the features. These are probably a little bit more familiar to people, this type of swing here that has the actual safety locks. Now, you probably remember, I don't want to say the olden days, but unfortunately I'm 50 now. So when I was young, these were made of metal, which weren't real. You could get a lot of pinched fingers and a lot of burnt bottoms. So we don't have that problem anymore. These are very secure, and they have double locking mechanisms on them, which is really nice. You'll also notice we've been putting up picnic tables at the park. And while this looks like a typical picnic table, the reality is that it extends right here on the end, this portion here, so that you can actually get a mobile device, a wheelchair in there, whether it's an electric wheelchair, whether it's a manual wheelchair, as well as even some walkers can fit up underneath this. The day that we unveiled this park was really a cool day, because there's a young man who Fairfield DD has supported for many years, who came to the opening with his grandparents, and it happened to be his birthday, which we didn't know. And I'm a PR person, so I got to tell you, if I would have known it, I probably would have taken full advantage of it. So it was just really great coincidence that it wasn't something that I knew about, because it made it more authentic. But anyway, this young man and his grandparents came here, and he celebrated his birthday by the first time ever going down a slide with other children on a playground. And it was one of the coolest things that we'd ever seen. And the reason he was able to do that was because of this. If you notice, the entrance to every single structure is what we call a zero entry. It just looks like a ramp. It's really a fancy way to say ramp. But you can get up into all of these structures via a ramp. So on that particular day, this young man was able to use his wheelchair to come up the ramp right up here, and then with his grandfather at the top of the stairs and his grandmother at the bottom, he was able to go down the slide. And it was one of the coolest things that we had ever seen. As Joan and Craig said, in addition to that, we are building shade structures, which obviously, those are going to benefit everybody, especially if we have another hot season like we did this year. But again, with the You'll notice they're all zero entry. There's no curb here. So people can use mobility devices, or even if they're on a walker or a cane, will be able to get on and off and underneath those structures safely without the risk of falling. We talk a lot about this being a multi-generational playground too, and I think that's important because we are actually located right across from Olivedale, which is also part of the Lancaster City Park system. So people that maybe are members at Olivedale can come over with their grandchildren and play on this equipment as well. You know, if you think about what a typical park looks like with mulch and gravel, that can be really treacherous for somebody. I know I've tripped a couple times taking my own kids and grandkids to a park. So to be able to have this smooth structure and be located right on the bike path just makes it more convenient for people to be able to take their grandkids over here. This is another cool piece of equipment. This is a swing that you can actually lay a child in the swing. So if we have a child that maybe has limited mobility of their arms and legs, they can still get inside the swing and enjoy. Oh, there we go. Or Joan. See, it's multi-generational. There we go, Joni. There we go. So that's a great piece of equipment, and that gets used quite a bit. Some of the other things that we're doing, we've got some sensory objects over here. You see, these are makeshift musical instruments. So you can play with all these little maracas, big bongo drums, things of that nature. It's very similar to what we have on the sensory trail over behind Forest Row School. And let me see, what else do we have? Oh, this is a fun piece over here. This is a big rocking ship. But again, you'll notice that you don't have to step onto anything to get inside of this structure here. Again, it's not limited to anybody. And to get on the big structure by itself, you start here with this ramp, and this will take you all the way up, and you will have access to everything on here. I think our friend Carrie Woody, who's also a Kiwanian, as we mentioned, this was her favorite piece of equipment here. This is a merry-go-round that is accessible. And the reason it is because the sides are open, as you can see. It is possible to actually slide a child up into here, or for a parent to easily get on and grab the child. And then because the chairs face in and there's a little bit of a lip here, kids can get on this and have a merry-go-round experience. Obviously, it's important for children with developmental disabilities to be able to play on the playground. But another component that that's really become a focal point for us as well is that we've learned how important it is for the children with developmental disabilities or physical disabilities to be able to play alongside their brothers and their sisters and their friends who don't have a disability. And that's where the inclusion comes. That's the inclusive piece. And that's what's been so great about this park. Just about any day of the week, now right now there's dividers up, so you can't get into the park, but any other time, you can come into this park, and the equipment's filled. You don't have any idea at first glance who's using the equipment and whether or not they have a disability or not. And you know, I think for me, that's been the coolest part, because initially when we looked at this project, you know, we had talked about what does it look like when a parent has 3 children and only one of them have a disability? Do you take 2 kids to the park and the other one doesn't participate? Do you take 1 kid to the park and he doesn't have anyone to play with? You know, so what's been great about this is that it's really created an inclusive environment where everybody can play together, regardless of age and regardless of ability. So to me, that's been probably one of the most rewarding things. We are, as Joan said, getting ready to make a couple new changes about having to do with the restrooms. So what you see right now, we have porta potties. No offense, Superintendent Tharp, but those are not permanent. So Joan, do you want to talk a little bit about what those new restrooms are going to look like and how that's coming about?
Yeah, love to. So what's kind of exciting is that there's a company in Lancaster that builds structures, houses, little tiny houses and things like that out of containers, shipping containers. So we've asked them to build us a restroom, and they have, and it's almost ready. to be brought over, and I'm, and placed on the footers that the Parks Department people have already poured. So it's being built in their warehouse and will be brought over in one piece and set down. But it's a container with two restrooms and then a little room in between for, the mop sink and things like that. So we're kind of excited to see it. We've seen some pictures, but it'll connect to the building that's here. There's a building on this on this property that has water and sewer already in there. So we didn't have to, have the extra expense of running those things, and there's power there. So they're going to connect it to that and put a little roof over it. And then they'll have to, put concrete up to the surface of it, and it'll be there apparently in the next couple weeks. So really excited about seeing. I'm excited about a restroom, Yes.
I think it's also important to note that as we were doing this process, we do have several members of our Kiwanis Club that have a pretty vested interest in the development of the park as far as making sure that it was ADA compliant. And one of those people is Scott Campbell, who works with Social. He worked very closely with us on this project and eventually was, I think, inspired enough that he joined Kiwanis. So we're very grateful to have him. I have seen a couple questions pop up about whether or not Kiwanis will have the ability to affect the other parks in the area to make them more accessible. We'd like to think so. Superintendent Tharp is also a Kiwanian, and I know it's very important to him. Unfortunately, this kind of equipment costs more than typical playground equipment. So as it is with most things, it does come down to dollars and cents and fundraising. We still have a wish list of things we'd like to see happen. I know mine personally, and Joan and Craig, don't roll your eyes. I always talk about, I'd love to have a splash pad or a fountain that kids could walk or roll through. And we're looking at things like that, but every project is another couple $100,000. So it's really a matter of competing for those dollars in a small town. The one thing about fundraising in a community like Lancaster, which actually has grown, about 66,000 people now in Lancaster and about 150,000 in the county, but we're all competing for the same dollars. And so I think you really have to do one project really well. And once people see that, that they can trust you, they can trust the parks with their money, they can trust Kiwanis with their money to bring something of high quality to fruition, then I think that we will have instilled that confidence in people to continue the journey along with us so that we can go to another park and buy another piece of accessible equipment, or we could find another $300,000 to put in a smart fountain that, and I've already done my research on this, Sarpy will tell you too. We do actually have the plumbing out here at the park to be able to do a splash pad, and there are ways to even do it so that we would recycle the water from the creek. Unfortunately, there's not really a way to do it for under $270,000. But again, so if we can raise that money, hopefully people will get to a point where they trust us now. They see that we know what we're doing, that we know what we're talking about, and they actually see the value in
Temple. Speaking of that, do you want to talk quickly about our fundraisers, our two old fundraisers and our new fundraiser?
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
So let me just mention our oldest fundraiser is the Pancake Festival. Since 1959, we've had a Pancake Festival every year in December. So that is where we get a good portion of our general funds. The next biggest fundraiser we have, I'll let Craig tell you.
That is the Gourmet Nut Sale. It's been around for 20 or 25 years, and we are going to have it again this year. So we have a lot of people that look forward to buying those nuts. They're $20 a can for over 2 pounds of nuts, which is a really great deal. So if you're interested in getting nuts this year, some of your places you buy them from may not be open because of the pandemic, but you can contact a Kiwanis member, or you can contact me. And my number is 740-681-9028. And if you want gourmet nuts, let me know. They come out about the end of October, beginning of November.
And then are you going to let Rachel talk about the newest fundraiser?
Sure. Rachel can talk about the 5K.
Is she there?
Can you see me? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
So the plan was to have a 5K, 10K walk, run, roll in the spring from the Kiwanis Hunter Park around the bike path and back. Well, we all know that that got kind of nixed because of COVID. So we changed that to a virtual run, and the deadline is September the 12th, but you can still register to run. You go online, register, and then you run whenever you can, and you log your time on your watch or, you know, whatever device you use when you're running. Then you can log on there and record your time, and you can still get a t-shirt. There's still time to get a t-shirt. So September 11th, we will be at Hunter Park handing out t-shirts. So when you register for that, you can come pick up your shirt. And then I hope that the plan is going to be to try for that again in the spring. But I do think we've raised about $6,000 from beginning to end with sponsors and the runners that we have scheduled right now. So I think our goal was like 1,000. So we surpassed that by a lot. So yeah, there's information about that on Facebook. And then I can send information out about that too if you're not already registered, if you would like to run, walk, or roll.
Awesome. I did see the other questions on there about changing tables and adult changing tables. I don't know if we have the finals on that yet, but thank you for bringing that up. I will make sure that that gets mentioned. I know we've talked about changing tables, but I don't know if we've talked about adult changing tables, which is
right. I don't think that is in there. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah.
But well, I think also too, it'll be a matter to see how large that space is when we get those bathrooms installed. So thank you for bringing that up. We'll definitely bring that to the attention of the board. And I saw Kim Conrad asked about, is there a way to make Mount Pleasant accessible? Listen, I've wanted to know that for years because it is hard to drag my chubby bottom up to the top of Mount Pleasant. I don't know that, Kim, actually that's a question probably for the Parks Board. I do know that I'm sure there's some parameters on that because I think it's a historical landmark, but definitely we can forward that question on to Superintendent Tharp and maybe get an answer on that. That'd be great. But you know, what's interesting about that is we are interested in, you know, making things more and more accessible. Again, Kiwanis, our mission primarily is for children. And so we are trying to find more and more things in the community that, and by accessible too, we don't always mean accessible for people with developmental disabilities. It could be things that are cost prohibitive that become accessible for children. Experiences, camps, as Joan talked about, books, you know, really trying to make experiences and educational resources and, you know, those types of things available to every child in the community, regardless of income, regardless of where they are at, you know, at any given time, regardless of ability. And I think probably a really important thing we do also is that, you know, we do have people submit a lot of money, a lot of asks to us that will benefit children. For example, we just gave some money to the Fairfield County District Library to make sure that children who don't have access to Wi-Fi can actually, the library is going to buy hotspots and you'll be able to check them out. So that children can use those or families can use those whenever they want. Yes, Joan.
Hey, Temple, you might want to mention our affiliated clubs, which is also like leadership development and service for the youth and children to get involved in.
Yes, absolutely. So you probably will be seeing in the next couple of weeks your kids bringing papers home from school of activities and clubs that are available at their school. We have Builders Club at Mount Pleasant Elementary. Pam, I think that's where your kiddos are at. That is a junior key club organization, a service club for youngsters, for elementary students. We also have Key Club at Lancaster High School, which many people might remember from their high school days. And they do fundraising and as well as some little projects around the community. They help us every year with Pancake Festival. They volunteer wherever we need them. It's a great group of kids. We do have a club called Action Club, which was designed many years ago to be a Kiwanis affiliate club for people with developmental disabilities. However, what we're really hoping is that we don't have a need for that club anymore, and that you know, through transportation, and as transportation improves around Fairfield County, that we'll actually be able to have those members become members of Kiwanis Club with us that meets at noon every Wednesday. So we would like to not have a need for.
We have key clubs at Bloom Carroll and Fairfield Union as well.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right. That's right. And we'd like to have some at the junior high level as well. We've had a little bit of trouble finding somebody, a teacher there that would be willing to take that on.
Bloom Carroll has a
Builders
Club, and we have had one at Thomas Ewing, but we're working on getting sponsored.
Right.
Yeah, for teacher.
Yeah, currently we
Yeah.
don't have one at Ewing or Sherman, but hopefully soon.
Yep.
So I think that's
how do you
about it,
become a
Rachel.
member?
unless
How to
anyone-
become a
Oh,
member?
okay,
That
no.
was the one.
How to become- Okay. Yes, if you'd like to become a member, I'll let you tell that, Craig.
Well, you can, whenever we start our meetings up again, you can always come to a meeting. They're open to the public. If you know a Kiwanis member, just ask for an application. And again, if you need an application, you can call my number at 740-681-9028, and I'll see that you get an application to join our club.
Or you can call my number and get an application from me, or you could call Temple and get an application from her.
Right, there you go.
Mhm.
Yes. And Temple is only going to be the president for another 4 weeks here, and then we'll be welcoming in Regina King. So I don't know how many people know Regina from Fairfield Medical Center, but we're anxious to have her aboard. Our annual meeting is actually going to take place out here at Hunter Park in October, rain or shine. We are just meeting. We've only met a couple times this summer. We've tried to social distance. Our board is still meeting, but we are available at any time for anybody that has questions, anybody that has financial requests. We always like to get those in and consider different ways to help people in the community. And we'd love to have any of you as a member as well. So with that, I'll hand it back to Rachel in case anyone has any questions. And thank you so much for spending your morning with us.
Does anyone have any other questions other than what was in the chat? You guys can unmute and ask them. You don't have to type them in. Wow, none? You guys must have covered it all. Let me look back real quick. I don't think there are any others. Nope. Looks good. You did cover it all. Good job. Is that, you don't have anything else to add about anything coming up? I was going to ask, is the pancake breakfast still happening?
No, we tried to find different ways to do it, and we just couldn't figure out a way to do it safely. So,
But
We're
the nuts
thinking about-
are on.
We might try to do one in the spring, but we'll revisit that the first of the year.
Okay. I forgot Andrea Spires is a member of Kiwanis also. She's on this call. So if you want
Is
an
she on
application,
there?
you
I
can
didn't know
call
she was-
her.
That's
That's
right.
right. She's really good at getting members.
She's actually on the membership committee, so yeah, that'd be good.
Andrea, do you have anything we forgot? Would you like to add anything?
It's really fun. You should all join.
That ought to cover
you
it.
sound very sincere.
I'm very sincere. I'm very sincere. I mean, I think Joan and I we were the ones that got Preet and Laura to join. So we just going to keep getting everybody to join.
She's really good at it.
If you don't ask, you can't get anybody to join. So we got to
That's
do
right.
True.
Right.
That's true. Well, everybody is welcome. The more hands, the more we can accomplish. And so we'd love to see and hear from just about anybody. So let us know.